Morning, morning. Well, happy to see you all, or at least talk to all of you in 2021. I'm going to go ahead and explain a new concept about triangles. I hope you like triangles because we're going to be talking about them and seeing them for a very, very, very long time. But let's hop right into it. So, some of this should be pretty basic. I think you guys remember the majority of this, but in case you don't, that's what I'm here for. So, in a triangle, there are three angles. Triangle, three angles, right? They're always, 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 every triangle's angles inside are going to add up to 180 degrees. I'll even write that out for you. All triangles, interior angles, add up to 180 degrees, no matter what. If it's a triangle, the angles add up to 180 degrees. That's just a guaranteed fact, which means we can solve triangles pretty easily. So there are two ways. Most people opt out of the algebra way because they don't like algebra. And yeah, that's fair. I get it. But I'm going to set it up algebraically and solve it, and then, so on and so forth. So we have three angles. We know they add up to 180. In geometry, once you find an equal sign, you're ready to go. Like, you can solve any variable. So we're going to add these angles up. 102 plus 28 plus x equals, it has to equal 180 degrees. So, I mean, you do what you can on one side, right? You get 130 plus x. I haven't done any of these questions, so I'm just doing them off the top of my head. So 130, degrees plus x degrees equals 180. And then we know that when we're dealing with variables like this, you just do the opposite to both sides to solve for the x. We want to get this 130 away from x. So what we're going to do is minus, because that's a positive 130, get a minus 130 degrees from both sides. Oops. There you go. Well, all that's left on the left side here is now x degrees, and all that's left on the right side is 180 minus 30, which gives you 50. And that's it. This x right here, this angle is 50 degrees. Now, of course, the other way is exactly the same, but it's more intuitive. A lot of people, once they know all triangles, angles add up to 180, they're like, oh, add these up, subtract them from 180. They act like they're skipping the algebra, but really, that's exactly what we did here, isn't it? Added those two angles up, subtracted them from 180. You're just doing algebra naturally in your head, whether you realize it or not. So that's the basis of the next quiz, is just angles inside a triangle add up to 180. Nice and easy peasy. But I'm going to clear this, close that. Sometimes we can be a little tricky. I'm not going to throw algebra at you just yet. Thought about it, but not yet. But we are going to get some stuff like this. So, text, all right. So you want to solve for x, you would add up the angles and then subtract them from 180. The issue is that this is a right triangle and you only see one angle, right? Well, some of you who know what's going on are like, no, there are two angles because this is an angle and it has to be 90 degrees because that's what this little box indicates. This little box means 90-degree angle. And now it's exactly the same as what we just did. 68 degrees plus 90 degrees plus the x we don't know will equal 180. Or 158 plus x equals 180. Nice thing about geometry, you never really have to deal with negatives in terms of like algebra, because geometry is all about actual measurements and like how big is this thing or whatnot, and you don't ever measure anything in negative numbers. So if you had issues with negatives, there are very, very few in geometry. So that's always nice. But once we add these up, we want to get x by itself. You do the opposite. This is positive, so you want to minus 158 from both sides. And that gives you x equals, what is that? That's 22. 22 degrees. I'm right? That'd be really bad if I did that wrong. No, I'm right. Okay. It'd be really messed up if I did that wrong on the example, huh? So when you see this little box, when you see a right triangle, don't assume it's a right triangle unless you see the box. You see the box, you know that's 90 degrees, you can work with it. If you don't see the box, do not assume it's a right triangle. I didn't play that trick on you in the next quiz, but definitely keep an eye out on that. Don't make an assumption that this is 90 degrees just because it looks 90 degrees. Make sure you see the box, or they tell you explicitly. I'd have one more that's going to be a little bit extra. Now we got this stuff going on. So we got this little, this extra piece added here. So I'm going to give you some notes right here. This guy is called an exterior angle. Exterior, of course, means outside. It is outside of the triangle. It is an exterior angle. Now, if this is the exterior angle you're looking for, these things come in pairs. There's an exterior angle and then what we call remote, remote interior angles. And these things are a paired set. So remote means, far away. Remote means far away. These come together. If I have an exterior angle of a triangle, then I have a remote interior angle. I have two remote interior angles. And they are, do I want to draw it? Yeah, I'll draw a line to it. So your remote interior angles are going to be this guy and this guy. They're the two angles that are away from the exterior angle. There is an angle right here. But that one is not remote, is it? It's right next to it. And frankly, that actually kind of makes it easy. This angle and this one are two angles on one line, which means they're supplementary. They add up to 180. So when you have a question like this, oh, I haven't even given you the reasoning yet. Let me give you the reasoning. In words, remote interior angles add up to their exterior angle. That's the concept we're looking at. So remote interior angles, these two angles, add up to the angle out here. So very simply, if we take these two remote interior angles, 55 degrees plus 62 degrees, they will equal x in this exact scenario, but these two add up to the outside. So we get, that's 7 and then 117. 170 degrees equals x. Now, just to kind of show you why geometry is going to start getting harder from this point on, there's multiple ways to solve questions. This isn't the way you do it every time. Because if x wasn't here, if x was over here, you'd have to change what you were doing, right? Also, sometimes they'll give you an exterior angle and tell you, well, find this angle right here. Well, that one's easy. If you wanted to find this guy, I'll use a different color. Do I have different colors? I do. and then draw. Okay. Did it? Dude, come on, man. You need to draw. All right. So if I wanted to find this angle, you could do it exactly the way we did in the last two questions, 55 plus 62 and subtract it from 180. Or you could just do x minus 180. These two are supplementary. They add up to 180. So there's a lot of overlap in the concepts that you're going to start seeing. Things are going to get a little bit more, not complicated, but there are more than one way to solve these questions. A lot of students don't like that. A lot of them get confused. My suggestion is the second you find a way that works for you, keep doing it that way. Don't try and learn every way of doing it. Do the way that works for you. But those three concepts are exactly what's on the next quiz. So you should be good to go. And of course, if you need anything, go ahead and message me. Y'all have a wonderful day, and I'm outie.